The Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour is presented by Brunswick. Bowling is sold on Brunswick worldwide.
Welcome bowling fans to Brunswick's superb US Play Centre in Dresden. We're back for the second year in the capital of Saxony for tour stop number 2 of this season's Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour. I'm Phil Myson, still dreaming of making that English squad, but one man alongside me who's already made a host of appearances for the national side is Cass Edwards. Cass, welcome Laneside. Once again, we're ready to roll in 1999.
Hello Phil, thanks very much. Of course, nice to be Laneside with you yet again on the Eurosport commentary team.
Well, it's a World Championship year, a great year of bowling to look forward to, that's for sure.
That's right, Phil, yes. November this year sees the 1999 FIQ World Championships in the United Arab Emirates.
Right, our players just beginning to assemble for the presentation ceremony before we get underway today for you on the Golden Bowling Ball Tour with the ladies. There they are, the final four. Michaela Gobel will roll off against Bettina Lund, who qualified in 3rd spot. Andrea Mirschel will meet the winner of our first game, and in top position was the Dane Iben Tchu. The ladies from 5 to 8 have failed to make the crucial cut, and here come the gladiators into the arena. Well, we were here last year, and what we remember of the sporting folk of Dresden is how they love their sportsmen and women here in the former Eastern Germany. They turned out in great numbers to welcome us on our first year, and here we are back once again to welcome them and you to tour stop number 2. Michaela Gobel has come over from Frankfurt for this event, and she's qualified for the stepladder final. Just 24 years of age, 1997 German Bowler of the Year. Her opponent, Bettina Lund, is no stranger to the TV cameras on the Golden Bowling Ball Tour. Now based in Rotterdam, but born in Denmark. She's a very expressive character who loves life and loves her bowling. She's a great opponent and always a welcome face for us in front of the TV cameras. Away we go then. Andrea Mirschel will meet the winner of this game. Michaela Gobel, who qualified in 4th spot, will roll off first in frame 1. The right-hander, as you see, over on lane 22, and leaves a 6-10, 8 count for her first shot.
Just testing the lanes there with that shot, Phil. Pulled it slightly inside second arrow, and it was almost in the pocket, as you saw it rode up rather high, leaving the 6-10. She'll move left, bowl it across the lane, and hopefully take both pins out for a spare in frame 1. Which she does quite easily.
So Michaela away with a spare, and now sits down as Bettina steps up to bowl back-to-back frames 1 and 2 for the Danish lady, long-time resident now of Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and as you see, a left-hander over on 23 to begin with, and leaves that 6-pin.
Pretty nice shot, a little bit high on the head pin, but she's just testing the water there. As you can see, she's covered the second arrow. Ball rolling up nicely, a little bit high, and leaves that 6-pin. Playing wide out on the left-hand side of the lane. Phil, I understand you're a bit of a left-hander when you get on the lanes.
Yes, I always support the left-handers. And Bettina may or may not have an advantage by being the one left-hander here in our stepladder final today.
I would think she would, Phil. Lots of bowlers realise that if you're a left-hander, you're out on the left-hand side of the lane all on your own. You've got unspoilt lane conditioner, and sometimes you can take advantage of it, but certainly not like that. Bettina's left the mighty 4-10 split.
Yeah, this is a big one coming in frame 2 for Bettina.
Now Bettina's got to be very accurate if she's going to spare this. She needs to clip that 4-pin right on the left-hand side and chip it across. And she gave it a go. Unfortunately, it didn't clip the 10-pin out. So that's an open frame in frame 2.
Third place here 12 months ago for Bettina on the Dresden lanes. And a third place finish also in 94 for the Exile Dane in the World Team Cup.
Strike from Michaela Gobel there, frame 2. Stretched right through the shot, gave it plenty of rotation, and it flushed the 1-3 pocket. Here we can see it on the slow-mo replay. Here comes the bite, there's the strike. Great shot.
24 years of age from Offenbach in southern Germany. She's had a long road trip to get here for the weekend of Tour Stop 2 and the top 88 qualifying from the first phase where a 2:14 average was required to go forward into the second round.
2 strikes in a row. She's now struck on the left and the right-hand lane. It gives her a double in frames 2 and 3. See the hook at the end, right in the last few feet of the lane, and all the pins are away. Back with Bettina now, the left-hander. She too was looking for a strike. Leaves that solid 7-pin right in the left-hand corner.
Well, her coach on tour is Kari Ninnonen, the highly experienced Finnish coach. And she's been a national team member of the Danish ladies bowling side since 1992. So a decade at the top for Bettina.
Looking for a spare. Covers it quite easily. Spare for Bettina in lane 3. Phil, some of the English viewers watching in today will remember Bettina. She was third, finished third in the ladies division of last year's British Open up at Nottingham.
Yes, she travels a great deal around the world. She was in the Caribbean last season for the Dutch Open in Aruba, very pleasant Caribbean island. And we like to see the top European ladies and indeed men coming over to play in Great Britain as much as possible.
Okay, she's sorted herself out on that lane. Lane 22 of our championship pair. Lots of rotation at the end and hits them slightly thin and makes them spin for a strike. First strike in frame 4.
So this is Michaela.
Looking for 3 strikes in a row. Not to be. Slightly high on the headpin. 4-pin wobbled, wouldn't quite go over. She'll hopefully settle for a spare. Here we see this ball biting right into the pocket. Almost trips the 4-pin out. Bit unfortunate. Sarcastic smile on her face. She'll be looking to spare this one. She's moved across to the right-hand side of the lane. And a spare in frame 4.
So Michaela with a spare to get her underway, followed by a double. And another spare again. Bettina's open frame in the second at the moment gives the German girl the early advantage in game number 1. And that will cement her position as she moves neatly to the midpoint in frame 5 with her third strike of this game. Armin Speckman, as always, our match referee. Well, he has an easy life of it, really, because cheating, I believe, is anathema to the bowling world. Hardly ever happens. Not in your day, certainly, Cass.
Certainly not in my day, Phil. I don't know what goes on today, but I'm not on the international scene anymore. And a strike there for Bettina.
Well, that's the position, as both girls have gone through the first 5 frames, 5 to roll. And Lund, 20 pins behind the German girl. Alain Winterhalter, Vice President, Brunswick, Europe. And despite the busy schedule, always manages to get down here for the Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour scheduled events. And always assured to see that his money is well spent. It's a huge arena we're playing in today, 6,000 square feet. The US Play Center in Elbe Park, just on the banks of the River Elbe. And it incorporates all manner of leisure activities, as well as catering and a creche. So just about everybody's taste is catered for. Today all eyes are on the TV pair of lanes, as Bettina Lund, still with a smile on her face, looks to overhaul Michaela Gobel and put herself into the second game, and then just one away from the final itself. Win or lose, Bettina is always a cheery character.
Okay, she's got 96 pins scored in frame 5. We're watching Michaela come up and hopefully shoot another strike. And there it is, another double. Second double of the game for Michaela. She's opening up an early lead now because Bettina's had one open frame in frame 2, and she will find it difficult to get back from that. See the bite and the rotation at the end of the lane, and that ball's right in the pocket for a beautiful strike. Trying to keep focus now is Bettina. Let's see if Michaela can try and sew the game up early. Working on 2 strikes.
Can she make it 3 in a row? Yes, she can.
Excellent shot. Nice big smile on her face. She's very pleased about that because she's opened up her lead even further by frame 7.
Alongside her coach, Andrea, and also no stranger to the TV audience. Last season in Ludwigshafen, she claimed 3rd place in the first season of the Golden Bowling Ball Tour. Likes reading, squash and some jogging. Her favourite sports person is Steffi Graf. But Bettina is not finished yet, and fighting back the Dane in frame 7. She struck 3 times from the last 4 approaches to the foul line. But it's still that second frame at the moment that's hurting her chances.
That's right, Phil. Yes, Bettina's going to have to start stringing a few strikes here. Right now she's looking for the double to give her 2 in a row. And she's managed that by crossing the headpin to the left-hand side, as all good left-handers sometimes do. Gives her 2 strikes in a row. Okay, she's on her way back now. Let's see if Michaela has an answer to that.
We're into the final phase. She's 20 pins behind. We'll be back after this short break to see who goes through to game number 2. Welcome back. We're into frame 8 of game 1. It's the ladies taking the spotlight today in Dresden, and 23 pins the lead for Michaela Gobel. She has just 3 frames to go.
She's certainly looking to extend her lead now and sew this game up, and that will help greatly. That's 4 strikes in a row for Michaela.
Very quiet girl normally, very reserved off the lanes. And you don't often get a smile, too much body language from her. Now I feel she's just beginning to relax. And
she can see the winning post, Phil.
Well, I was going to say, unless she makes a major error.
No, don't say things like that. No, she's got the winning post in sight. She's in the lead. Just stay cool. Keep focused.
Stay in the zone. That's the brand on the bowling ball she's using today. There's the whip, and there's the result of a high hit through the nose, just as we were saying she had the game in the bag. And she's left the big 4.
The 4-6 and the 7-10. The bed posts plus 2 others. Almost impossible. She should settle for the 2 here, maybe 3 if she's very lucky. Tries to chip it across, but no, 2 pins only. An open frame in frame 9 now for Michaela on a score of 201 with 1 frame to go.
So it does give Bettina a chink of light at the end of the tunnel. Her open frame came in the second. I suspect the 4-bagger put together by Michaela from frame 5 through to 8 will be enough, but the lead is now only 15. It was 23 at the midpoint.
She needs a strike. Oh!
She's not going to get it, but that was a tough break.
Unbelievable, really. That could have put her out of the match, unfortunately. She needed a strike there to make 3 in a row and to stay in touch. A solid 8-pin in the pocket.
Yeah, she's talking to the pins, I think giving them a piece of her mind.
It's a simple spare, but a spare is not what she wanted. She did need the strike, so let's see how we're going now.
Well, she's going to finish up, and Gobel will know what she has to do. May not have to do anything other than just step up to the foul line. Game could well be over after this throw from Bettina Lund. As you see from the graphic, she must double to stay alive.
Looking for a strike again. Oof. Not once but twice. She left a solid single pin off of a pocket hit in the most important frames 9 and 10.
Yep, she's not going to get it. No improvement on her third place finish here in Dresden last year. And the smiling and always happy Bettina Lund will have to call on all her reserves of good humour here, because she has gone out early in the first game, and a frown there creasing the features of the Danish girl. Not to be her day, and she never really recovered from that loose shot in the second frame.
That's right, Phil. Yes, that's very important not to have open frames, but unfortunately couldn't string a row of strikes together. Finishes on 203. Not a bad score, but unfortunately that one open frame is going to cost her the match.
A strike return of 4 from 10 frames. She would have expected better than that on lanes where she did well a year ago. So Michaela Gobel marches on. The German puts out the Dane now residing in the Netherlands. And it'll be an all-German matchup in game 2.
Pretty good shot there from Michaela. She knows the game is won now. She doesn't even have to spare this. Michaela averaging 204 for the qualifying rounds.
Only just made it. Just sneaked in with a pin aggregate of 12.27.
That's right, Phil. Yeah, just made the cut to the next round, and then progressed from there, and eventually made the step ladder. Bonus ball in frame 10. The match is over. She's now loose, and she's got herself a strike to finish with.
So a big cheer from her travelling fans from the Northwest Bowling Club in Frankfurt, and the German girl it is who eases past the experienced Bettina Lund, putting out a big name in game number 1, 221, playing 203, and the four-bagger was the difference.
I'm satisfied with my bowling. Only next time I will be going in as first and then stay first.
So Bettina Lund bows out with those few words. And next up we have Andrea Mirschel, a very pleasant young lady too, who's been big on the bowling scene amongst the ultra-strong German ladies now for a number of seasons. The baby-faced Andrea, 29, 5 years the senior of her opponent. They're both great friends and long-standing members of the national team as well. Andrea Mirschel, the teacher from initially Bavaria, although she's now moved more into the centre of Germany. She gets us underway in game number 2, and she has the perfect 10 to start in frame 1.
Right into the 1-2 pocket as left-handers go. Beautiful strike. Nice follow through. She's looking good. And it's not the first time we've seen Andrea on TV screens as well.
No, that's true. She is always there or thereabouts when the big tournaments come around. Well, she was second in Frankfurt last year, and here in Dresden she was only just outside the top position. She made 5th place, and also in the Masters end of season tournament for all the girls who win the tour, stop outright, they go forward to the Masters, and also valuable qualifying points through all the rounds. Well, Andrea was there last year. She made 5th place overall at the end of the inaugural Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour. Now, once again, we see the big 4, and once again, that means an open frame, this time against Gobel. She's had 2 now in the last 3 frames.
That's right, Phil. Both times she's left the big 4, 2 either side, so it may well be that she's slowed up on her pace a little bit, not getting the ball far enough down the lane before it breaks into the pocket. Let's see if she can make an adjustment on the next lane.
Not only are both these players from the German national squad, they also play for the same club, the Bowling Club 77 in Frankfurt. So teammates today in opposition here in front of the TV cameras in Dresden.
And Michaela hits herself a strike in frame 2, after unfortunately having an open frame in frame number 1.
That's Andreas Janke, Michaela's coach. This is former German Bowler of the Year, Andrea Mirschel.
Looking to open up an early lead if she can make 2 strikes in a row, which she does in grand style. Striking frame 1, striking frame 2. She takes that early lead. Phil, Andrea was seen last year at the London International tournament at Heathrow Bowl in London. Did rather well in the ladies section, and here she is again today, bowling very well, looking for 3 in a row. Takes it out very easily. She's now opening up a very big lead because Michaela opened frame 1 and Andrea struck twice.
Teacher of biology and history, averaging 210 in the early qualifying round this weekend in the US Play Center.
Michaela looking for a double. Played that a little bit wide, but see how much it came back and leaves a ringing 10-pin right in the corner. She thought that was going to be a strike. She almost ran it out, but the angle of entry into the pocket left that 10-pin solid standing in the corner.
And certainly showed some emotion on that shot.
Yeah, well, she thought it looked good. It looked good from where I was sitting. The elusive 10-pin on the right-hand side of the lane. Straightens the shot out and takes the spare.
And for our bowling newcomers, Cass, we have bowling fans joining us on Eurosport here all the time. Just remind us those polyester balls that are used for sparing, as opposed to the different surface ball used for the strike ball.
That's right, Phil, yes. On spares, the bowlers don't need to hook the ball so much as on with strikes, and there's a strike there from Michaela in frame 4. They need to straighten the shot out and cut down the chance of error or the angle, so they tend to bowl it straighter, and polyester is a much harder surface, and so it slides, doesn't create so much coefficient of friction with the lane.
Not looking for the big rotation, the big bite.
That's correct, yeah. Keep it simple on the spares. Andrea now lining herself up on lane 22.
Keep it simple on the spares. I was up in Amsterdam bowling this week, Cass, and the one thing that was letting me down was sparing. But we won't go into that.
Sight for sore eyes, I'm sure, Phil. Andrea showing the way for all left-handers by going 3 strikes in a row, straight out of the trap, 1, 2 and 3, 3 strikes.
Well, I told you I'm making a late bid for that Great Britain team.
But I don't think you've got enough brown envelopes for that, but perhaps we'll have to have a word with the Team England manager, an old friend of yours.
Yes, and sadly not good enough to get me on the plane to the United Arab Emirates at the end of the year.
Phil, actually there's some disappointing news from the England camp regarding selection this year for the Team England squad. Probably they had 2 top men players, Phil Scammell and Wayne Greenall, have both qualified for the squad, but have decided that for reasons of their own, they are not available for selection for the World Championship team to go to the United Arab Emirates. And so it may well be that our men's team is not as strong as we first hoped for.
Well, that's a shame. Phil Scammell and Wayne will be sadly missed. But of course it does open up the door for other players to really give it a go this season and perhaps get into the national squad for the World Championships. They only come around every 4 years. 1999 is a World Championship year.
Andrea's now gone 4 strikes in a row. Third of the way to that magic 300.
Oh, don't say that, Cass. That really will...
Let's see what Michaela can do. And she's strung one very wide, and it's ripped back into the pocket for her first strike in frame 4.
Well, now you've said it. There's the caption, Mirschel at the top with 5 in a row. The perfect game so far, as soon as we mention that. And how much we'd love to see a perfect game here on the Golden Bowling Ball Tour. We always put the hoodoo on them. However, let's hope that Andrea hasn't heard us, and we're going to take another short break, bowling fans. Rejoin us here on Eurosport after this. Welcome back. You're enjoying the world's favourite game here on Eurosport, and we're halfway through our telecast from Dresden for you today, with Andrea Mirschel currently with the perfect 5 so far from her first 5 frames, and quite clearly it's catch-up time now for her opponent Gobel, who struggled in the early phase of game 2.
Now has hit 3 strikes in a row, a turkey to our regular viewers, and she's well on the way back.
Support from her sister.
Almost like a twin, I would have thought, Phil.
But she hasn't missed so far, the 29-year-old teacher. Teammates, remember, both now out of Frankfurt.
And there's a solid 6-pin off of a pocket hit for Andrea. Unfortunately, that's messed up her 300 game. 5 strikes in a row. Here we see the shot. A little bit high on the head pin, and that 6-pin stands solid and defiant.
Audible groan from our knowledgeable audience as the ball tracked its way down the left-hand lane.
Isn't it strange how these left-handers make it look easy, Phil? Don't you think?
Well, some of us. It's that greater spatial awareness we have, Cass. I've explained this to you. That's why there are so many good left-handed golfers and tennis players. We're very good at gauging and judging angles when it comes to ball games. That's what they keep telling me, but it's not working for me.
Well, there's nothing as frightening as a left-handed bowler that's quite good. They seem to have an awful lot of space to move their ball around. Okay, so Andrea's made a spare in frame 6. Crosses to the next lane on our championship pair.
This centre opened just 18 months ago, and the sport of 10-pin bowling, relative new leisure activity in this part of Europe.
Phil, Andrea's ripped another strike, frame 7. She's really ripping the rank now. It's a shame that that 6-pin was left in the 6th frame, or she would have had 7 in a row. Here we see her again, right in the pocket. Beautiful strike.
She topped the ranking list in Germany in 96-7, and she's been in the national side since a teenager. So really it's bizarre almost to call her a veteran, Cass, at the age of 29.
That's right, Phil, yes. Bowlers start quite young nowadays, and from the age of 7 or 8 upwards, even in your teens you could be classed as a veteran.
Well, we've seen this development, of course, in ladies' tennis over the past 15, 20 years. And a correlation there with 10-pin bowling as well, as the champions get ever younger. But what they do learn nowadays is a great degree of professionalism at such a young age, Cass.
That's right, and talking about young champions, Phil, my chance to plug Great Britain and England team member Kirsten Penny awaits ratification of her recent high 3-game series. 811 pins scored over 3 games, a new English, British and European ladies high series. Games of 278, 268 and 265.
Well, that's outstanding bowling at any time, and well done to her.
There is a rumour, of course, that a couple of English players will be coming out to have a look at the Golden Bowling Ball Tour at our Frankfurt stop coming up later in the year. 2 men and 2 ladies, and obviously it would be nice to see Kirsten out here flying the flag for England and Stevenage.
Well, that certainly would be something to look forward to, a British representation at last on the Golden Bowling Ball Tour coming up at the end of April when we move on to Frankfurt. Before then, of course, we have plenty more bowling coming your way on Screen Sport. We'll be up in Sweden once again this Easter with our old friends at the Les Lyon Cup. The Les Lyon Cup 99 promising to be the biggest yet, and you'll be seeing exclusive pictures of that tournament here on your bowling channel, of course. Now 47 pins the lead, I suggest from here on in. It's Andrea who's going into today's ladies final.
Looking for another strike. Trips the 6-pin out, acknowledges that it was a little bit on the lucky side, but it is 2 strikes in a row. She's roaring away with this match now. and it's almost over. Almost over by the shouting in frame 8.
Well, it certainly will be with that shot, and she's getting the breaks now as well. That's a great finishing position.
I couldn't agree more, Phil. Yeah, acknowledges the cheers of the crowd and a few funny faces being pulled by. Just one or two of them.
That's actually Gigi Samuelson there on the left of your screen, and her son. And they're down from North Shopping, the venue for our Les Lane Cup this year. And Gigi and her husband run the pro shop up there in Fieldbergen with our friend, proprietor and promoter, Archie Berselius. And Gigi and her husband, always enthusiastic participants of every Golden Bowling Ball Tour stop. They come down from Sweden in their camper van, and they always bring the children too, and there they are today, with Daddy enjoying the show as we are.
Andrea looking for a spare here, Phil, and if she's successful, which she is, she's raced through the 200 barrier, and with a close frame in frame 10 will be 230 to 240, which is a fabulous score.
That's a big score, and it's going to prove unbeatable in game 2, so it's the end of the road for Miss Gobel. But once again, she's cashed, she's in the money, and more importantly, she's amongst the ranking points again, which will cement her hopes of appearing in our Masters final early in summer in Lille, northern France, for the 1999 Masters final weekend on the 4th and 5th of June.
A little bit high through the headpin there. She seems to have lost her strike line in this second game of the stepladder final. Yeah, she's now taken that polyester ball and she'll be shooting her spare with that. But here we see the slow-mo replay of her first shot. As again you can see, it's right up through the headpin, almost left her a big split. Just left the 4-pin though, which she should spare quite easily. See the polyester ball sliding through, very little hook at all.
Away goes that 4-pin, away goes Andrea to reflect on, well, Michaela on what might have been. But she's been comprehensively swept aside in this second game. Look at the gap there between the two girls, over 50 pins through frame 855. And it's long since now academic as Michaela completes her game. And a baby split just to ring the variations.
Yeah, the 3-pin and the 10-pin on the right-hand side of the lane. The ball will actually go between these two pins, bounce one off the other.
Wasn't Peter Schmeichel there in the audience, was it?
Wasn't quite sure. Did he have a red nose? There's the 310 split, and now comes that Brunswick zone polyester ball. Shouldn't hook too much, but try and slide it in between, which she does perfectly. Beautiful spare. We'll give her a bonus ball in frame 10.
Yes, but it's going to be third place in Dresden for the Frankfurt-based player. And a very disappointing score, having put out the dangerous Bettina Lund in game 1. But it's just slipped away from her here in the second game.
189, Phil, is below par for the weekend. She's been averaging 200 prior to this game. As you say, she's going to have to settle for third place. Consolation slap on the back from her coach, which I'm sure she needed.
Well, she was looking a little flushed and just a little bit ruffled in that second game. I think it was getting to her a little bit.
She's actually been mauled by Andrea, because she's now left a 7-pin in the corner, and a spare here will take her through the 240 barrier, which is an absolute monster game.
Well, what can you say? This girl really has bowled with a metronomic-like regularity. When your opponent comes out and hits the first 5, inevitably the head's going to go down. There's not much you can do to counteract the perfect start, is there?
No, that's right, and if the bowler has 5 in a row and then doesn't have any open frames, there is no way you're going to catch her up. It's out of your hands from the start.
So perhaps we're seeing another championship-winning performance today from this 29-year-old teacher who, despite the full-time profession, has all the qualities, all the credentials, and the mental composure to go out and bowl full-time as a professional. That's a magnificent score from Andrea Mirschel, 245 with the perfect 5-bagger to get her underway. She was quick out of the blocks, and then she wasn't seen for dust. Well, Michaela was very happy about her second tour final. She does admit that lanes changed a little bit in the semis and she couldn't quite manage to read them. So, nevertheless, she's satisfied with her third place. Well done to her. Iben Tchu now from Denmark is the final hurdle that Andrea Mirschel has to cross if we're to see a home win today in Dresden, or will the title be heading north to Scandinavia, as it has done so often over the 18 months we've brought you the Golden Bowling Ball Tour here on Eurosport, because Iben Tchu, like Bettina Lund, has been on TV before, both last season and this, and she is one of the finest lady bowlers currently out on the tour. And that's a perfect example of just why she has finished here as the top seed this weekend in Dresden.
Open with a beautiful strike. Iben has actually been seen in the UK before. She was fourth in last year's British Open at Nottingham, making her second consecutive appearance on the Golden Bowling Ball Tour this year.
Well, all the Scandinavians love to come over to Nottingham, don't they? It's always such a fun weekend, and they get a great field for that British Open, always have done.
That's correct. That is correct, Phil. Yeah, lots of Scandinavians, and in fact bowlers from all over the world come to Nottingham for the British Open tournament. 5 days, a feast of bowling. And I'm sure both these ladies will be there this year. Andrea's opened up with a strike as well.
Well, both girls punching their weight. They can't call this one a draw cast because we don't have a draw in bowling, of course. There always has to be a winner. We could be in for a roll-off. But Andrea, once again, is counteracting the roll-off strike from Iben Tchu with another one of her own.
I don't know if you're aware, Phil, but in the tournament today, if there happens to be a tie, it won't just be a roll-off, it will be a one-ball only sudden death roll-off. Normally under tournament conditions, bowlers will play 2 frames in a roll-off, but today it's 1 ball, winner-take-all, sudden death.
Well, that would be really something. What a way to settle the championship. Aha! That's a little loose from Andrea in the second frame.
Yeah, a little high through the head pin there. She's after 2 in the 7 pin. She's now got out her polyester ball and should slide in between them. Looking at her mark on the lane, some 15 feet down the lane, and unfortunately she's out open frame there.
Is it easier for a left-hander to take the 2 out on the left or over on the right? 4-7 or 6-10? What do you prefer as a lefty?
As a lefty, you would prefer the 6-10. You can use the whole width of the lane. On the other side, you have to tighten up a little bit.
So that was Andrea's problem there, of course, not wanting to flirt with the channel and lose the ball entirely. She came in a little too high and chopped off the 1 pin, leaving the open frame. Aha, but immediately it's Iben Tchu who rolls a loose ball, and surely now is looking at an open of her own.
Looks like the 1 pin and the 10 pin there, Phil. I wasn't quite sure. I missed it first time round. No, it's the 2 pin and the 10 pin.
Still a very, very difficult one.
And she settles for the 1 pin. So we're all square after frame 2.
Yes, strike and an open for both girls. Top 2 seeds meeting to decide the championship. Kari Nenonen, Bettina Lund's coach, also looking after the interests of Iben Tchu here today. Another little split.
That's more than a little one, Phil. That's a 5-7. That's quite big enough, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's very teasing.
Yeah, it's a weak shot that's gone into the pocket, hit the head pin. Not enough rotation. The ball is actually sliding, has bounced off the pins, leaving the 5 and the 7. Now, it is possible to get this, but you've got to hit that 5 pin very thin on the right-hand side. Great accuracy needed, and that was quite a good effort, but unfortunately that 7 pin is still there. So that's another open frame for Iben. Chance for Andrea to pounce on the open frame and try and take a lead. Here we see the 2 elusive pins. Couldn't quite get to the right-hand side of that 5 pin. 2 open frames in a row.
And that was the last game, but a spare here would give her the advantage, put her 10 pins clear, at least.
It's a beautiful style that Andrea's got, and that ball has come ripping back from the left-hand side of the lane. Unfortunately, the angle that it went into the pocket, it's just left that 6-pin standing solid. Yeah, she knew it was good. Here we see it. There's the bite. Here it comes, right into the pocket. Solid 6-pin.
What I like about Andrea's game, Cass, we'll get a look at it now here from her head on camera. When she's there on the approaches, she is totally cocooned in a world of her own. Her focus on hitting the right shot is 100%. A fraction of a second later, she'll walk down lane side, chat with her coach, appreciate the audience, chat with her opponent, and she's a different girl.
This sounds all very technical to me, Phil.
We'll think about that during the break and see you after this. So welcome back to Dresden as we bring you the final part of our broadcast today on the Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour. Andrea Mirschel, the second seed, is leading by 11 pins. Her opponent from Denmark, Iben Tchu, as both girls have had open frames early on in this grand final. And it's all making for very interesting viewing. As much as we love to see big strings of strikes, if one girl gets the jump on her opponent, then of course can kill the game fairly quickly. But here, they're very evenly matched at this phase of the final. And I wouldn't like to pick a winner now, Cass, just as we were talking before the break. Both these girls, in fact, have that ability, as all top sportsmen have, be they boxers or golfers or footballers, to isolate themselves from what's happening all around them, to shut out all the crowd noise and the distractions, and absolutely focus in on what matters.
That's right, Phil. Yes, they get locked in, stay focused. They concentrate on their mark on the lane where they're going to bowl the ball. For newer viewers and younger bowlers, they are not actually looking at the bowling pins at all. They are looking at a mark some 10 or 15 feet down the lane that you can see there, known as arrows. They're looking at those. As long as they hit that mark, they're aware of what their bowling ball will do or should do if released properly. It's all a matter of hand and eye coordination. And those pins are 60 feet away, so why not line up something on something that's only 15 feet away? It's a much easier thing to do.
So choose your mark, choose your arrow, try to place it over there consistently and hope that the ball will break in the same angle and at the same point on the lane every time.
That's quite correct, Phil. You're learning very well. You're a good student.
But it doesn't always do that for me, Cass.
Well, you are a left-hander, Phil. And I'll say no more about that because Iben is bowling another shot here and has left the 5-pin right in the middle. After a strike, she needed another one to cover the 2 open frames in frames 2 and 3. And a 5-pin is not what she needs. She's muttering to herself there, maybe finding it a bit frustrating.
But knowing that her opponent too will be coming back after another open frame of her own in frame 4. So both girls are provided us with 2 open frames in the first 5 frames of this final.
I can't imagine it's nerves, but one never knows. With the TV lights on, the cameras rolling, and a big crowd.
And we did hear Michaela just telling our interviewer how the lane conditions were changing and had forced her to slightly lose her shot and rethink her game. So we saw her score fall away quite dramatically, didn't we, just 10 or 15 minutes ago?
That's right, but I hope she's going to get back here. And she's hit that one a bit thin and made them spin. A favourite sound of mine, as you all well know by now. And she's got herself a strike in frame 5. Okay, she's... there's the replay. They're all flying around all over the place, and she realises that was just a little bit on the lucky side, but she will accept it at this stage of the final.
That was on the left-hand lane.
Now, can she get a double? She knows her opponent's opened twice, as she has.
If she does, it'll be the first of this final.
Looking good.
Excellent shot.
Looks pretty good to me, and a double at that stage is an absolute real bonus, because I think she's realised that Iben is suffering just a little bit on these lanes. Working on a spare. And that's a pretty good shot. And that 10-pin in the corner almost went with the loose wood flying around. But unfortunately it stood up, and she didn't need that at this stage. Andrea's hit a double, and Iben has hit 2 single-pin taps off reasonable pocket shots. And unfortunately that's going to send her even further behind. Let's hope she can spare it and stay in the match. Yes, she does. That's very nice too.
Iben actually uses 2 coaches out on tour. Kari, as we're seeing behind her, the Scandinavian coach, but also Bettina Lund, her Danish teammate, very often coaches her when Kari is elsewhere with the national team. She's been in the Danish national ladies side since 1992. She really is a dedicated lady bowler.
And that one, Phil, has only just clipped the head pin. Very light. Threw the ball a little bit too wide, a little bit too fast. Didn't pick up the rotation. Didn't rip into the pins and knock them over, as you can see how wide this shot is. It just clips the head pin. And it's fortunate to just leave 2 standing. It could have been a lot more.
Well, the 25-year-old was the runner-up in Hamburg in tour stop number 1 last autumn. And perhaps it's going to be another 2nd place. There is Bettina, as Kari for the moment is keeping his own counsel and deciding perhaps it's not the appropriate time to offer any words of advice. Does there come a point, Cass, when you just want to work it out yourself, or are you always happy to have that encouragement from...
It's always nice to have it there as long as it comes at the right time. If you get locked in and your game is solid, you can probably go all the way without even speaking to your coach, but he's there when you're in trouble.
Well, I think Iben Tchu might just be at that point in the game.
Oh, Phil, that was a real left-handed hooker. That ball almost dropped in the channel. So far left it was, but as you saw, it came right back from the edge in the last 10 to 15 feet and ripped the pocket.
And she's doubled that lead too. 22 pins now, the difference.
Yeah, 3 strikes in a row. She's striking while her opponent is down and not striking. And that's how you become a winner. Okay, let's see what she can do again now. Frame 8, coming towards the end of the game already, Phil. One more here would probably sew it up.
Her ambition for the current season was indeed to make the World Championships in the Middle East at the end of the year. I would say this almost guarantees her participation.
I think that just about sums up the game as well, Phil. That's 4 strikes in a row. Yeah, she's very happy now. Puts the pressure right back on Iben, who hasn't been striking. Needs one right now.
We think there's a little more oil on the lanes now for this ladies' final, and it's possibly causing the early frame balls to run long.
Well, that's right, yes. Under the TV lights, the oil or the lane conditioner does actually move around and evaporate a bit. Makes the lanes hook a little bit more. There's less friction between ball and lane. And if you don't make the right adjustments as the lane dries out, you won't be making that pocket and you won't be striking. So let's see what Iben can do now.
Silver medal at the 97 European Championships. The girl from Copenhagen needed that strike to stay alive. Now can she build on that?
3rd strike of the game in frame 8. She's running out of room. Only 2 frames to go, and she actually needs a couple more strikes just to get level.
Only 2 strikes. The return from Iben Tchu from the first 7 frames.
Yeah, and that's actually not quite good enough for a championship final, especially when you've got 2 big split open frames with them.
Yeah, Andrea had that as well, of course, but her 4-bagger really put her in pole position. Now she's a whisker away from wrapping up another title in Dresden in 1999. Will it be success for Andrea Mirschel in the ladies division on tour stop number 2?
Well, she's ripped the pocket with that shot, and some shouts from the crowd. They thought it was going for a full 10 strike. Unfortunately, the 7-pin stands in the corner.
Again, pacing below the qualifying aggregate, so we can only assume that lane conditions are tougher than they were yesterday.
And that's quite possible, Phil. They do change from day to day, different lane dressings. Big cheer from the crowd as Andrea spares her 7-pin and moves to 165 pins scored in frame 8.
So she retains that 20-pin plus advantage. There's a school of thought, Cass, that people in bowling say is no bad thing if you come into a final and just make the conditions that much tougher, more testing. It's very much the same as the final round of a major championship in golf, where they'll put the pin positions into a very, very tricky place on the greens, just really to work out who are the very best golfers.
That's quite true, Phil, yes, and that certainly goes on in bowling. Doesn't always make for good television or spectator bowling, but yes, you're right, it does sort the best bowler out. And Andrea, with another 7-pin right in the corner, has proved that she's the best bowler today. She's going to win this final. She moves to 185 in frame 9, and a spare here will take her through the 200 barrier. Yeah, the crowd's saying she makes it look quite simple.
Well, she began with 5 strikes from the first 5 frames in her previous game. She's yet to roll the perfect 300. But last season, an average of 201 pins. She's going to be pretty close to that mark here today as she's on her way to the gold medal.
Her last ball of the match. Bonus ball in frame 10. And a winner's check. Strike. Takes the 5 highs from her opponent and her friends. And a generous round of applause, and she's today's winner. Fabulous score of 204. And here we see the strike ripping right back into the pocket from the left-hand side of the lane. Those pins stand no chance.
So she finishes as she began in the grand final with a strike. She got over her little rough passage there with open frames coming in 2 and 4. But at the same time, the Danish girl came out with a couple of splits of her own that she couldn't convert. And Andrea was off the hook and away with 4 strikes in a row from 5 through to 8, and that really did give her this championship medal.
Yeah, it's a shame that Iben hasn't been able to strike, and unfortunately 2 open frames together with those. She's not even going to make her probably even a league average, let alone what she's averaged in the tournament so far this weekend.
Resigned to defeat now as Andrea looks to be getting quite emotional back there. And the German contingent will be celebrating this evening in Dresden, no doubt. However, for Iben, it's been a good weekend because following her second place finish in Hamburg, for the second successive time on tour, she puts valuable ranking points on the board. And Iben Tchu, I'm sure, will be in a very strong position to make the Masters final once again that comes up in June. So, on the second tour stop of the current season on the Golden Bowling Ball Brunswick Tour, Bettina Luft place. In third place it was Michaela Gobel. And our winner here going past Iben Tchu as she tells the world and our cameras just how wonderful it felt. In the last couple of months, she says, I've had more downs than ups. The reason being her teaching profession was taking up too much time. But that period is behind her now, and she's looking forward to winning even more tournaments in 1999. So there you have it, the Golden Four in Dresden this year. It's a victory for Germany's Andrea Mirschel. It's been fantastic bowling once again from 4 of the top lady bowlers in Europe. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast from me, Phil Meissen and Cass Edwards. We'll see you again from Vienna on Tour Stop 3 on Good Friday at the same time, same channel here on Eurosport. Bye-bye.